iZOTOPE has just made it stupid easy to copy the sound of any broadcaster, podcaster, TV personality, YouTube personality that you want to copy and you want to have their sound on your own podcast or YouTube video or whatever. They have made it stupid easy with VEA, thanks to, their machine learning and their AI in VEA. It's really cool, but also thanks to AudioLens, which is free. Now you can copy the sound of any we're going to go with Joe Rogan, okay? But again, anyone in basically 3 simple steps. So step 1 would be you need the equipment. That's going to be a microphone. It really can be any microphone that you want, but being that we're talking about Mr. Joe Rogan here, he uses the SM7B. So if you have an SM7B, I would use that. If you don't have an SM7B, I would highly suggest you get the SM7DB. That simply means you don't have to purchase an external, a cloud lifter to go along with that. Okay, it's going to be built into the mic, much better for the vast majority of people. The next thing you need to purchase would be VEA. It's only like $30 or so, $29.99. Pick that up and also pick up AudioLens, which is free. Step 2 would be utilizing AudioLens to capture the curve or the sound of whoever you're trying to copy. In this case, Joe Rogan. Now we're just capturing the curve. We're not capturing things like actual audio or video or anything like that. So it's completely legal to capture somebody's curve. It's no different than saying, hey, he's using an SM7B, I'll use an SM7B, right? It's the same thing essentially. So we're just going to capture the curve. So in order to do that, very simple, we'll just start playback here, and I'm going to have to mute the audio and blur the video for copyright reasons.
Don't get they deserve what they
But we can see the curve right here. Then we just hit capture. We just let this play for a while. So again, I'm going to talk over this. I'm going to mute it. So, for copyright reasons, but as you can see, it's analyzing the overall sound of that podcast. So just let this go for a little bit. Once you're done, hit stop. And then we have a new reference here. We'll call it Joe Rogan, but again, it could be a TV show, Conan, could be your favorite, podcaster on YouTube, whatever. Save that curve, that profile. Okay. So we have that now. We actually don't need to leave AudioLens open. Now we can actually close it. Once we have that curve captured, it's going to automatically be available for us within VEA. So that's pretty cool. Step 3 is to put VEA on your podcast or your audio track. And then we'll play back the little fake podcast that I have here. And I did use the SM7B for this sample here. But again, you don't have to necessarily use the SM7B if you're using AudioLens, which can apply that curve to any microphone. So if you don't want to purchase the SM7B, I guess you technically don't have to, but starting out with a base that is as close to whoever you're trying to copy in the first place, that's usually the best way to go. But anyway, all we have to do now is play back our podcast. Hey, welcome back to the Rogan podcast, man. Hey, man, what's up, man? Just sitting here talking about MMA and eating a bunch of meat and buying all the On It supplements you can. Hey, man, yesterday I was listening to this podcast. All right, so it's already given us a basic profile here, or a basic setting, which if I bypass it, let's just hear what it sounds like raw. It's about this guy who talked about cats. I think it was called Catopia. Now we'll turn it on. Or something like that. He literally talked to cats on the podcast. Of course, we can clean up that background noise a little bit more, change the shape overall, or apply more of that shape to it. Podcast. Hey, man. What's that about, man? Hey, man. It was really weird, dude. And the cats would talk back, but he was real successful with it for some reason. I don't know. He sounded amazing. I don't know why he sounded. But what we want to do to copy the sound of Joe Rogan in this case is to apply that curve that we analyzed and created with AudioLens. So right here in the middle, just click this, and right there, AudioLens. There's the Joe Rogan one that we just created. So we'll apply that shape, and now we can apply that to our podcast and capture that sound or have the same sound as Joe Rogan. Literally, folks, in probably 2 or 3 minutes, right? There's no loading up several different plugins or several hard to use plugins or having to understand EQ and compression and background noise removal and all that stuff. VEA takes care of all of that for you. And then the overall shape or tone is taken care of by AudioLens. So let's apply this curve now to our podcast and see how close we get to sounding like Joe Rogan. Of course, we can adjust our essentially dynamics or compression over here as well. Like the cats would talk back, but he was real successful with it for some reason. I don't know. He sounded amazing. I don't know why he sounded so good, but here on Joe Rogan, here we talk about MMA. We talk about how I'm the only person in the world who knows anything about jujitsu. No one else knows anything more than me. Okay, because I'm Joe Rogan. We also love to talk about things like how podcasting is hard. We have other podcasters on and talk to each other about how amazing we are at podcasting.
Turn it back on.
And then we just go back and forth and say, podcasting is hard and my life's hard because I'm a podcaster. And then I talk. So it definitely sounds much more like Joe Rogan. It's not really changing it a ton, being that we used the SM7B, but it is rolling off some low end. It is bringing in the overall tone of that podcast versus just the raw SM7B. So again, here's the raw SM7B. Podcasters on and talk to each other about how amazing we listen to the low end, the warmth, and also the background noise, which is present. We are at podcasting. And then we just go back and forth and say, podcasting is hard and my life's hard because I'm a podcaster. And then I talk about my supplements. So be sure to. All right, we'll turn it back on now. Talk about things like how podcasting is hard. We have other podcasters on and talk to each other about how amazing we are at podcasting. And then we just go back and forth and say, podcasting is hard and my life's hard because I'm a podcaster. And then I talk about my supplements. So be sure to buy those supplements. And hey, go listen to Catopia because that dude is pretty cool. All right. So that is perfectly the sound of Joe Rogan. Yeah. Listen, the Joe Rogan sound is not technically the best sound. I can get a much better sound, but listen, it's a sound that people know and people love. So it's something that you can definitely apply very easily using VEA. Yeah, it does sound a little mid-rangey. It pulls out the low end and the character somewhat whenever we use that curve. But again, that's the sound that people love. So if you want to copy the exact sound of whether it's Joe Rogan or any other of the top podcasters or bottom podcasters or middle podcasters or YouTubers or presenters or TV shows or whatever it happens to be, you can do that very, very easily by simply using AudioLens and VEA, and you can copy their sound in mere seconds, 30 seconds, a minute of analyzing. All right, so if you want to pick it up for yourself, of course, we'll have links in the description below. But that's it, folks. You can easily copy the sound of your favorite podcaster in just 3 simple steps by using VEA and AudioLens from iZOTOPE, which is now a part of Native Instruments.